More tornadoes similar to the one in Benson last night have been spotted in the Midwest again tonight. Dr. Greg Forbes will have more on that in a minute. But first, the southeast and the remains of Allison causing more problems tonight, and kind of a history of where we've seen it go. It made landfall about a week ago, a whole week ago. And we're talking about a tropical system, not a major hurricane. A week is a pretty long life for a system that moved over land. Usually we think of tropical systems as they move away from the water, their energy source, and encounter the friction of weakening and falling apart. Well, it did weaken, and the final advisory was issued early last Wednesday morning, but ahead of that, we had rainfall, and then after that, we had more rainfall. Parts of Houston had 35 inches of rain on the southeast part of town, and more than 20 inches of rain fell across the parishes of Louisiana. And then the rain shifted into the Florida Panhandle the day before yesterday, through yesterday into this morning. Very heavy rains here, and the center now has moved all the way up to around Augusta, Georgia. We'll show you that in a moment. First, the rainfalls, and they have been impressive, but again, nothing as prolific as we saw in Texas and Louisiana. Almost 10 inches in Tallahassee, pretty wet period. Panama City, 4 1/3. Ozark, Alabama, 3 1/4. And all of these areas are running huge deficits if we go back 3 years. So it was nice to see the rain. However, for some of us, obviously west of these areas, from New Orleans back to Houston, too much, too quickly. Dry here and hot and humid. Here's the spin. The center right here. Now, it's going to be heading towards the mid-Atlantic coast around the Outer Banks, and at that point, we could be looking at a possible redevelopment, and our hurricane experts, John Hope and Dr. Steve Lyons, will be updating us on that over the next couple of days.
Keep an eye toward that feature throughout the day. We'll provide continuous updates on this, but again, just a chance that it may become a Class 5 tropical system again. It's been a continuous circulation well over a week, starting in, of course, dumping about 20 inches of rain, parts of Louisiana and around Houston, moving on, and it moves back out to sea. It could, again, strengthen a bit. That is indeed a possibility. Otherwise, the big storms,
What concerns us most is the center here seems to be pulling back down toward the coast. Onslow County right here, where Camp Lejeune, North Carolina, and the Jacksonville area is probably the closest town. Right there, North Topsail Beach also. That's about where the center of circulation is pulling back out. But you can see the big spiral bands up over parts of the Outer Banks. Cape Hatteras, a wet day today, but Ocracoke not looking bad. But then farther west, big bands of rain. And since this is moving so slowly, let's go ahead and show you the satellite perspective of it. It'll put down a lot of water here, too. Lots of flash flood watches. Of course, a lot of folks here very antsy with this situation because of what happened with Hurricane Floyd 2 years ago. This one has had a history of putting down just tremendous amounts of water, and it probably will do that again, so be very wary if you're in a flood-prone area. Some areas in South Carolina already upwards of a foot of rain. Here, once again, is a look at the current weather map with our two.
And the question on everyone's mind is, when will it clear out? Good evening and welcome to Weather Center. I'm Jennifer Lopez.
And I'm Paul Goodlow. Thanks for joining us. It's another hot and muggy day in much of the Northeast. But first, we begin tonight with a severe thunderstorm. Rain, the potential for this thing to continue to spin here and dump rain extremely high. We're going to see some areas still pick up perhaps 5 to 6 more inches of rain tonight and into tomorrow, before we have a chance of seeing this slide out to some of the warm Atlantic waters here. Water temperatures in the low 80s, so we could see some redevelopment, but we're also watching the storm system coming in from the west. That will actually help it draw it further north and limit its exposure out here in the Atlantic, where it could possibly potentially strengthen. But the National Hurricane Center will hold off having flights flown in here until probably tomorrow at the earliest, if it heads back over the Atlantic. But you can still see wave after wave of heavy rain rolling throughout parts of the Carolinas. And in fact, because of the rain we've had and can still have tonight, flash flood watches are up for much of eastern North Carolina. As we scan the skies here